Okay, this is chapter 16 from the book John McDougall, The Doctor Who Fought for You, written by me, Pete Rogers, and we're going to be talking about the Dr. McDougall diet. A lot of this comes from the Dr. McDougall newsletter, January 2008, For the Love of Grains. You can go to his website, drmcdougall.com, to see all these newsletters. You can watch all the videos at his YouTube channel, the McDougall Medical Center channel. Okay, so first of all, talking about the McDougall diet, he says that it typically contains about 1 or 2 grams of sodium per day. He's a little more lenient with sodium than I am, and where that comes from is when you restrict from about 5,000 grams per day down to about 2,000 grams per day, you get a benefit, but not that big of a benefit. What Walter Kempner would say is you have to get much lower, start getting down around 500 and lower, then you start seeing more of a benefit. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. Salt tastes good. One of the downsides of salt, though, is because it tastes so good, people eat more, and that can have a tendency to contribute them to becoming fat. Okay, so Dr. McDougall newsletter, January 2008, For the Love of Grains. Okay, here he goes. In Roman times, Ceres was the goddess of agriculture. The gifts offered to Ceres at festivals were cereal. Grains were considered the staff of life, the staples of the diet, necessary foods. The most important grains for the Romans were wheat and barley. Expressions like the greatest things since sliced bread to keep the plebeians happy with bread in circuses. Cash is called bread or dough. And of course, the barley men, where the gladiators used to eat barley to have optimal fitness for competition. Dr. McDougall has lectures about that. Okay, 70 to 83% of the calories from grains are starch, or otherwise known as complex carbohydrate. Grains, and you can think of complex carbohydrate or starch as a polymer of glucose. By the way, one of the reasons why McDougall was the best doctor who ever lived is because he told the public the truth. He said you should eat a starch-based diet. If you eat a starch-based diet, you're probably going to be healthy. He also told them, you get all these middle-aged people that are like shipwrecked. All of a sudden, their first heart attack, their first stroke, first realization that they're all fat and they can't do the things that they used to do. First bouts of autoimmune disease and whatnot. And what he would tell people is eat 90% of your calories from starch, 5% from fruits and vegetables, and just keep doing that. And in the meantime, start reading and learning and talking to people and figure out more about your disease. But if you just want something simple to know what to do to get started, find a starch that you like to satisfy your hunger, eat 90% of your calories from starch, 1 or more of them, and 5% from fruits and vegetables, and you will be well on your way to becoming healthy. Again, starch is a polymer of glucose. And one thing you'll notice is take a look around. Look around. I really mean this. Look around at all the famous nutrition experts and coaches and doctors on the internet. How many of them tell you you need to eat a starch-based diet to satisfy your hunger and you should only be 100% vegan with no oil? Almost no one tells you that. You need to know that. And even the ones people think are so good, they don't tell you that. You need to know that because you have to figure out how to satisfy your hunger in order for the diet to work long-term and to be sustainable. Once you get used to it, it's very easy to do. But you have to know starch is what will satisfy your hunger. And don't get me wrong, I eat more fruits, I think, than most people do. I'll eat about 35% of my calories from fruit. But I'm 60, but I'm a young 60, okay? And I exercise a lot. And McDougall was more dealing with patients that were relatively old, not healthy, and they're trying to solve a major medical problem, okay? And somebody who doesn't exercise, you got to be careful eating so much fruits. They can potentially make you gain fat as you get older and you don't exercise so much. But I've seen a lot of young people eat tons of fruits and be very healthy and thin and fit. Okay, he continues here. Grains are the seeds of grasses, things like wheat, barley, rice, corn, rye, triticale, a hybrid between rye and wheat, sorghum, and millet. Amaranth, quinoa, buckwheat are derived from broadleaf plants, and they're not really grasses, but they're used very much like cereal grains, okay? Starch is a complex carbohydrate, a polymer of glucose wrapped in fiber. That's why it satisfies hunger so well, because it's low caloric density. Even though carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram, starch is only 1 calorie per gram because it's low caloric density with all that fiber. So it stretches your stomach quite well. That's early satisfaction of hunger. And then it takes time for the digestive enzymes to peel off the fiber from the glucose. So you only get a slow absorption of glucose from your gut to your blood. And that keeps your blood glucose levels normal or just slightly elevated for a prolonged amount of time. You feel good. You're in the zone. You're not hungry, and you got a lot of energy. That's exactly what you want. It has the effect of being like a slow-release energy pill. It's exactly what you want. Okay, and again, McDougall tells you that. He tells you exactly what you need to know. I have my internal medicine doctor friend, and he says to me, he goes, the most important things ever said in nutrition was when Pritikin said fat is bad, and he reviewed all the fat literature, and I've gone over it myself now, and then he says, McDougall said, you need to eat starch to satisfy your hunger, and that should be 90% of your calories. Just do that, and you'll be okay. And if you're really screwed and really doing badly, eat only sweet potatoes for 4 months. Like the Papua New Guinea, they would eat 93% of their calories from sweet potatoes. He says, if you haven't tried that, then you haven't tried everything available to you with nutritional therapy. Okay. Simple sugars are empty calories. They're not a health food. They'll rot your teeth. Simple sugars raise triglycerides in the blood. Glucose does not get much made into fat, but it does get burned for energy. When you say simple sugars, a lot of times too, people are thinking about sucrose, which is half and half. It's half glucose and half fructose. Fructose is a totally different creature than is glucose. Fructose goes primarily to the liver. Glucose goes throughout the body. Okay. Okay, and now here's McDougall. The most important way that I came to the conclusion that humans are starchivores is from this observation. All large populations of trim, healthy people throughout written history have obtained the bulk of their calories from starch. There are no exceptions. And that's an extraordinary statement. So what he's basically saying is every population that's healthy, they're starch. They eat starch. That's the staple of their diet. There's no large fruitarian societies, even though fruits can taste great. In real life, fruits tend to be not that accessible. They tend to be seasonal, and they're also expensive. They don't store so well. A lot of times they're sort of modernized, made hyper sweet. They can cause rebound hypoglycemia. But don't get me wrong, I do think fruits are a good food, and I think we have color vision so we can see when a fruit is ripe. Let's see, McDougall continues. Examples of thriving people include the Japanese and the Chinese in Asia eating rice, the Okinawans eating sweet potatoes, Papua New Guinea eating sweet potatoes, other populations eating buckwheat, the Incas in South America eating potatoes, the Mayans and Aztecs in Central America eating corn, the Egyptians in the Middle East eating wheat. People in the Middle East have been eating oats for 11,000 years. And here are some of the benefits of eating whole grains. Lowered cholesterol levels, lowered blood sugar levels, insulin levels, so less diabetes, less insulin-like growth factor type 1, suggesting a decreased risk of cancer, less risk of thrombosis in arteries and veins, less risk of heart attack, atherosclerosis is a blood clot, less risk of type 2 diabetes, less risk of obesity, of colon cancer, helps prevent constipation, increases good gut bacteria, provides antioxidants, so that's a lot of good stuff. So anyways, that's sort of some information about the McDougall diet from Dr. McDougall himself. And I've also heard him say other things. If your problem is mostly being fat, what Dr. McDougall would recommend is to increase your vegetable percentage of your calories. Normally he's only recommending 5% of your calories from vegetables. So 90% starch, 5% fruits, 5% vegetables. That's what he normally would say. But he says if you're trying to lose weight, you can keep on upping the percentage of your calories from veggies. Eat them first, and you can go all the way up to 50% of your calories from veggies. He said you can't go beyond that, but you can go all the way up to 50%. And the more veggies you eat, the faster you will lose the weight because it tends to be very low in caloric density. Okay, and I would even add there's other benefits of plant-based diet that he hasn't even gone into here. But every way you look at it, it's good. The only downside of a plant-based diet is you got to take vitamin B12, methylcobalamin. So anyways, I hope that was helpful.